How we doing today, guys? It's Sammy and Rich here for your weekly fishing report. It is Friday. So I guess we should get things started off with the rockfish. Seems like everybody's talking about them. They're really scattered, especially north of the bridge. There's schools up at Tolchester, Hodges, over in front of the Patapsco. They're kind of all over the place. If you're looking to live line or jig, all those are great options for you. Biggest thing is if you do want to jig, I'm imagining we have a lot of big tides coming up, and as soon as we have a lot of that those outgoing tides, they're going to pull those fish up out of all those rivers, and hopefully they're going to congregate out towards like Love Point area and things like that, or even north up by Swan Point. Is stuff to look for in the coming weeks. As far as lures, why don't you show us some of the things we're using?
So for the stripers, we're still doing a lot of jigging with your soft plastics and your jig heads. They always work really well. Subtle jerks here and there would get a little action out of them. Dictate the size of the head based on the amount of depth of water that you're in. If you're in a little heavier water or you got some faster moving current, you want to go a little bit heavier head to help get down to where the fish are. Toothy guys are starting to show up. There's being bluefish caught in the mid-bay. So we start moving into some of our metal baits, something that's going to have a little flutter to it, something doesn't get chewed up with those toothy fish. And these will catch stripers really, really well as well. And give these a nice steady jerk and let them drop, get that good flutter. They like to hit them on the way down, so make sure you keep some tight line on the way down in your drop. And then, of course, mackerel should be showing up hopefully soon.
Mackerel should be. I've heard some all the way up to Chesapeake Beach, which is not too far from us. So hopefully a few more tides, and they're going to push up this way.
Start thinking about loading up on some spoons and some planers, because they're on their way, and that was a good time last year.
Yeah. And back on the rockfish, if you push a little south of the bridge, Poplar Island area, pretty much most of the rock fishing that I've heard south of the bridge has been kind of a shallow water bite opposed to that open water jigging. There's always a couple good bets. It's hard to beat a classic diesel minnow, 4 or 5 inch paddle tail. Really hard to beat. As far as colors go, I keep them pretty simple this time of the year. I like a bright sunny bait when it's bright out. And then when it's dark and overcast, I want to fish something more natural. And that goes straight to for the your bigger baits out in open water. Another thing, I think, at least this year, nobody, at least that I've heard of, has been fishing them too much. And those are jerk baits. They're one of the most effective lures. People have been using them for years, especially in the shallow water bites. So if you're anywhere down there by Poplar Island or Thomas Point fishing in the shallow water areas, even some of the rivers down there, I would definitely stick to shallow water baits, jerk baits, paddle tails, things like that.
Yeah, those Uzuri crystal minnows and a rattle trap are always in my tackle box. Okay. Anything shiny, anything looks like a bunker in the natural clean water. Yeah, absolutely.
Since we push down a little bit, red drum cobia. Most of your cobia fishing has still been going on down south of Point Lookout. However, there's a lot more sight fish being caught, which typically dictates more fish in the area. So who knows how far they're going to push up this year, but they are already up to Point Lookout area. As far as the red drum go, it's kind of the same deal. They're a little bit far behind them, but there are fish that I've heard up to Point Lookout this year. What else we got? White perch.
Perch.
It's that time of the year where their perch are everywhere. Whether you're in shallow water fishing in the rivers and creeks, you're going to catch them, or if you're in hard bottom, open bay, open river, you get jigging sting sailors, or if you're in shallow water, you could be casting meps, rooster tails, or perch pounders, hopefully, when we get them in.
You can always take some small feather jigs or a little shad darts and make a little tandem. They're a ton of fun to throw. You get a lot of action out of those things darting back and forth when you make them up. And they're fun to fish in the shallows, especially around the docks.
And you can't forget about the Chesapeake Speaky. Little 2-hook rig is great on hard bottom. All right, I think that kind of wraps it up. I hope there's no fish we're forgetting. Oh, how about crabbing? Crabbing, from what I've heard, it's kind of slowed down over the past week. It sounded really good about 2 weeks ago. A lot of guys were doing well in the upper rivers here, Magathie, Severn. I've heard it kind of fizzled out in the past 2 weeks, but people are still catching crabs down south, especially the Tread and the upper part of the Y. I've even heard is starting to have crabs. So I don't think it's going to be too long before it gets going again here in the Severn, the Magathie, Chester, northern rivers. All right, thank you guys.
Take care.